Shalom. Want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God. Yahweh Shai being the name of his beloved Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right, this is the brother Yaira Dada, WFI Indiana camp, coming at y'all with a quick cold cut through the spirit. Just out here, just enjoying, the day, the last day of Tabs. Lord willing, brothers and sisters, been having a mighty feast of Tabs. If you kept it, on the WFR calendar. All right, but the title of this cold cut is just going into, for these were our examples. All right, these were our examples. All right, and understanding and being in the spirit of the Feast of Tabernacles. Like I said, Lord willing, brothers and sisters, having a mighty time keeping it. And Lord willing, brothers and sisters, have a mighty time closing it out tonight. But understanding the spirit of tabernacles and the things that went on during the time of the wilderness, right? And understanding that all throughout the scriptures, when you read about these different things, even our forefathers will reference the things that happened during the time of the wilderness, right? So the same way that they would reference those things and and look back and think upon those different things in like manner, we should do the same. And we got to do the same thing, right? It's not really an option, right? We got to look back upon these different things, be in the spirit of these different things, and learn from these different things. All right, so we're going to kick it off, right? We're going to kick it off with the book of Job, chapter 8 and verse 8. All right, it's the book of Job 8 and 8, and it says, "For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age." Obviously, that word inquire going into what? Seek out. All right, search, learn, investigate. All right, and that's what we ought to do. Reading it again, finishing it out. All right, it says, "For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of thy fathers." So, understanding that we got to search these things out, right? Why are we searching these things out? Why do we have to search these things out? Why did so many of our forefathers think it meet to search these different things out? And obviously it all leads back, you understand, to learning from these different things. Like it tell you in the book of Romans chapter 15 and 4 on down. Right? For these things were written for the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, paraphrasing. All right, and that's what we got to do. All right, so let's go to the book, 1 Corinthians, right? It's not going to be a long cold cut, right? But it's the book of 1 Corinthians. Let's get 10. All right, it's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, and verse 1. I'll start at 1, and we're going to read down. All right, it's the 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, "Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea." Right? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you understand, our forefathers are the ones, you understand, that dwelt under the cloud, who was led by the pillar of fire, you understand, and the pillar of smoke, who had the Red Sea parted for them, who had the law, statutes, and commandments given unto them, you understand, from the Most High God through the hand of Moses. We're those descendants. We're those people. And if you got ears to hear, we're those same people. All right. Reading on in verse 2, it says, "And were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat." It says, "And all did drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Hamashiach." You see that? So it said they drank of that rock. You understand? They drank it. Not only did they actually drink from an actual rock, but guess what? What was the water that they were getting on the spiritual level? Right? The wisdom, knowledge, the understanding, the commandments. You understand? And believing in the Most High God. All right. Understanding that we know that the water, represents that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the belief. You understanding the Most High God and His Son, right? Just like it tell you in the classic, right? When you go to John chapter 7 and 37. All right, let's get that real fast. All right, so spirit, flip right to it. All right, this is the book of John chapter 7 and verse 37. It says, in the last day of that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. You understand? Right? Let's go to the book. We're going to go back to that in 1 Corinthians, and we're going to finish that out. But first, let's go to the book of Nehemiah. All right, let's go to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9. Because even Nehemiah spoke about these different things that happened in the wilderness. The bad and the good. All right. It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse... Man, this whole chapter is fire, but I'm going to start at verse 11. All right. It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9 and verse 11. It says, and thou didst divide the sea before them, so that they went through the midst of the sea on dry land, and their persecutors thou threwest into the deeps, as a stone into the mighty waters. Moreover, thou leddest them in the day, leddest them in the day by a cloudy pillar, and in the night by a pillar of fire, to give them light in the way wherein they should go. Thou camest down also upon Mount Sinai, and spakest with them from heaven, and gavest them right judgments, and true laws, good statutes, and commandments. All right, watch this. It says, and made known unto them the holy Sabbath and commandments. It's like it, and commandest them precepts, statutes, and laws by the hand of Moses thy servant, and gave them bread from heaven for their hunger, and broughtest forth water for them out of the rock for their thirst, and promised them that they should go into the to possess the land which thou hadst sworn to give to them. So what Nehemiah is doing right now is he's literally recalling, you understand, he's recalling the different acts, you understand, that went on during the time of the wilderness. You understand? And in recalling these different things, right? And really to be more specific, right, is really going into the priests during this time period that was saying the prayer. You understand? Not necessarily Nehemiah verbatim, but regardless of that, you understand, them just recalling the acts that the Most High God did for our forefathers during the same time. You understand? During the same time. And when you read the chapter previous, in chapter 8, they was actually observing the Feast of Tabernacles, right? And then you go into chapter 9, right? And they going into another feast, right? They going into the prayer, right? But nevertheless, they're recalling the things that the Most High God has done for them and the people while they were in the wilderness. But watch this. Verse 16. It says, but they and our fathers dealt proudly, and hardened their necks, and hearkened not to thy commandments, and refused to obey, neither were mindful of thy wonders that thou didst make them, but hardened their necks, and in their rebellion appointed a captain to return to their bondage. But thou art a God ready to pardon, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and forsook them not. You see that? So even in the midst, right? See that? Even in the midst of our stiff-neckedness, you understand, even in the midst of our forefathers, you understand, rebelling against the Most High God, he still had mercy upon them during this time when they was in the wilderness. And all you got to do is read the law, right? Read Exodus, right? Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and you'll read and see what was going on in the wilderness, right? But our forefathers, guess what? They're recalling these different things, and they understanding the mercies of the Most High God, but they also understand that what the hardened hearts of our forefathers as well, and how they rebelled, how they went off, right? So with them rebelling, see that with them rebelling and going off, right? It's a lot of damn, see that damn geese, right? But with them rebelling and going off, right? We gotta learn from that, right? We gotta learn from that, and not just learn from that, but be able to not go in that way that we shouldn't, right? Which is what the way that the wickedness of our forefathers went. But instead, we gotta go down the way of what? Hey, through the path of righteousness, man. How our righteous forefathers stood for the Most High God, and how they went on the side of the Lord, all right, and not went on the side of what? Wickedness, man. To serve other gods, to do other things, right? So reading on, right? Salakia, get this back. All right, so reading on in verse, Salakia, I wanted to go back to 1 Corinthians, right? That was just to show how, even during the time of Nehemiah, what are they doing? They're recalling these different things. You understand? They were calling the mercy of the Lord that he had on us when we was in the wilderness, and seeing those different things, right? But also they understand the judgments that the Lord put out for the people, and how they rebelled, how some rebelled, and how some, guess what, they stood for the Most High, right? So back in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse, Salakia, bear with me, 10 and verse 5, right? It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 5. It says, but with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. You see that? And us understanding and being in the time and in the spirit of tabernacles, right? We don't want to be overthrown, right? Through being rebellious or not having cleanliness in our spirits, right? We don't want our spirits to be filthy and having spot, or having idols inside of our tents and our tabernacles, if you got ears to hear. You understand? But instead, we want to do what? We want to make sure that we cleansed. We want to make sure that we're pure in heart. We want to be like those righteous forefathers and foremothers that was dwelling in the wilderness. All right. Reading on, it says, now these things, verse 6 in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it says, now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. You see that? What did they lust after? They lusted after they was looking back into the things that Egypt had to offer, the food, the grain, all type of other different things, right? Take that food from him. Salakia, these geese out here are hungry. But right? God, Salakia. Right? But reading on in verse 7, right? It says, neither be idolaters, as were some of them, right? So we don't want to be idolaters. We don't want to give things or give more attention and time and effort and strength, you understand, to things that's not doing us good concerning our spirits, and concerning doing the work for the Most High God, or concerning strengthening our spirits toward the Most High God. You understand? They gonna keep coming back. Right? So it says, neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, right? As some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonish, right? It says, upon whom the ends of the world are come, right? And that word admonish is going into what? A warning. You understand? So let this be a warning, you understand, to us, and being able to keep this Feast of Tabs. And let's make sure we in the spirit in these last days and looking back and understanding and learning from the things, you understand, that our forefathers went through, right? So with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Kwam Yasha Allah, Shalom, family.